What's up, home bartenders? So if you're thinking about starting your own home bar, but you're not quite sure what to get first, stick around because today I'm going to show you my top 10 essential bottles for starting your own home bar. And who knows, I might show you the next 10 bottles to get afterwards. All right, let's do it. Number 1 essential bottle, the backbone of many classic cocktails, whiskey. In this case, a Canadian rye whiskey. But you could just as easily get a bourbon. For your cocktail whiskey, you want something that is good, but that is fairly inexpensive because you're gonna be mixing it. You don't want something super expensive to put in your drinks, which is why I'm not necessarily recommending a rye one over the other, rye or whiskey. It really depends on what is available and what is cheaper where you live. For me, obviously, Canadian whiskey is the choice because I'm from Canada. If you're in the US, a good bourbon is probably very inexpensive for you. But you know what? Maybe a Scotch. Whiskeys, whether it's bourbon, whether it's rye, whether it's Scotch, this will allow you to make so many classic whiskey cocktails. Obviously your old fashions, your Manhattans, Rob Roy if you're using Scotch, whiskey sours, so many options. Get yourself a good whiskey. Number 2 on our list, we're going tropical with rum. Now obviously this is the 10 essential bottles, but if you can make it 11, get yourself a white and a dark rum. If you have to choose one, obviously it comes down to preference. I would recommend getting an aged, but that's my personal preference. A white rum will give you a nice, crisp, fresh flavor. You've got daiquiris, mojitos, some great drinks there. With dark rum, you're gonna get more richness, more molasses flavor, and of course, a broader selection of cocktails you can make. Mai Tais, dark and stormies, all sorts of tiki drinks. So yeah, get yourself a good rum. Unfortunately, number 3 on our list is vodka. Yes, I know it's boring, but every bar needs vodka. If you're a craft cocktail enthusiast, you probably hate vodka because there's no flavor. But to a casual drinker, that's the beauty of vodka, is you're adding some alcohol to something without adding much flavor. So you've got Bloody Marys, you've got Moscow Mules, Cosmos, just vodka cranberries. It's a necessity in every bar. It just is. And if you're really serious about your home bartending, vodka is a great base for making a wide variety of homemade liqueurs. So make sure you check out my playlist for all my homemade liqueurs. Next up, we've got gin. Now, admittedly, this is not a category that I've explored too much, but there is a wide variety of flavors in gins. You've got your dry gin, which can vary pretty drastically with different botanicals and citrus and whatnot. But you've also got aged gins and you've got Old Tom style gins. So there's quite a lot of variety in gin. But for your bar, you just want a classic dry gin. I've got a local one here. Vodkas and gins, I highly recommend supporting local. They don't need to age, so they're everywhere. Every local distillery makes a vodka and makes a gin. So shop local for your vodkas and your gins. You'll find some great ones. But yeah, classic gin and tonic, Tom Collins, it's one of my favorites. Obviously a Negroni, a good gin essential in every bar. Number 5, we have tequila, and I recommend Reposado. For those unfamiliar, there are 3 levels of tequila. You have Blanco, which is basically unaged. You have Reposado, which is lightly aged, and then you have Añejo, which is more aged. The flavor becomes deeper and richer and the price goes up as you go down this way. If you're just gonna start with one bottle, I recommend a Reposado. And you can get some Reposados that are not that expensive, but it's in the middle. So you can still make your margaritas, your palomas, your classic tequila mixed drinks. However, you can also make the cocktails that call for higher quality tequila, like a tequila old fashioned, the Sable, excellent cocktail. So a Reposado tequila, essential for your home bar. All right, so those are the essential 5 spirits. Now we're on to liqueurs and other stuff. And the first liqueur on my list is orange liqueur, and specifically Cointreau. If you do like something that's a little richer, you can get a dry curacao or a Grand Marnier, which is a brandy-based orange liqueur. Or on the other end, you can get a cheaper triple sec, which is basically like a very sugary, cheap orange liqueur. But I do recommend Cointreau as being your standard because you can pretty much get away with using Cointreau in any cocktail that calls for orange liqueur. I've even made Mai Tais with Cointreau, People are probably shaking their heads. It's not that bad. You can make your Cosmos, you can make your sidecars. There's a lot of great cocktails that use orange liqueur and specifically Cointreau. Number 7 and number 8 will be our dry vermouth and our sweet vermouth. If you're gonna be making martinis, if you're gonna be making Manhattans, which are classic bar staples, you're gonna be needing these bottles. So get yourself a dry and a sweet vermouth. Also, out of all our bottles today, these ones are wine-based, so they do need to be refrigerated. So once you open that bottle, keep it in the fridge and try not to keep it too long. I've probably kept mine too long. Bottle 9, Campari. All right, now this is probably gonna be a very divisive one. This is incredibly bitter, probably like the most bitter liqueur out there, but there are some absolutely classic cocktails that call for Campari. Negroni, obviously, Jungle Bird. There's so many, and it is a great liqueur. It is something you need to get used to. My first bottle of Campari, my first Negroni, did not like it at all, but it grows on you, and now I absolutely love them. Now, if Campari is absolutely too bitter for you, you can get its less bitter cousin, Aperol. Now, you can still make some fantastic cocktails with Aperol. The Aperol Spritz, that's a summer staple. So again, you can either choose either or get both. Our number 10 spot and our last essential bottle is also the smallest one, and it is Angostura Bitters. This is essential in every bar. This is basically the ketchup of the bar. Bitters are a seasoning for cocktails. It adds wonderful spices, wonderful flavor to your cocktails without kind of altering the balance of a cocktail. Once you get into bitters, you will fall in love with bitters, and then you'll have a whole collection of bitters. But this is the gold standard. It is the main one. It's sold in every grocery store, even though it's 44% alcohol. It's considered a non-potable alcohol. Pick up a bottle or two of Angostura. So that's my 10 essential bottles to start your home bar. But why stop there? Because once you've got those 10, you're gonna want more. So let's keep going. Number 11 on our list is a good sipping whiskey, because not everyone you host at your bar is gonna be into cocktails. Some people might just want to sip on a nice quality whiskey. I recommend Lagavulin 16. I'm a huge fan of Islay Scotch, but if Scotch is not your thing, get yourself a nice bourbon. Number 12 spot, we have Brandy or Cognac. I am out. I'm on my last half ounce of Courvoisier. But if you're gonna start experimenting with different style drinks, sidecars, vieux carrés, yeah, you're gonna want a brandy. Number 13 on our list is another rum. Rum is such a vast category, you're gonna wanna experiment a little bit. And once you start down that rabbit hole, it will never end. Get yourself a rum agricole, get yourself Smith & Cross, get yourself Smith & Cross, buy Smith & Cross, sponsor me Smith & Cross. If you're into tiki, you're gonna wanna get yourself a 151 overproof rum. And if you like rich rums, El Dorado Demerara rum is fantastic. Number 14 spot, we have a brandy-based orange liqueur. So in my top 10, I did put Cointreau or Triple Sec, but if you got one of those already, next you're gonna want a brandy-based orange liqueur. We've got the Pierre Ferrand Dry Curacao, we've got the Mandarin Napoleon, and the gold standard Grand Marnier, also the most expensive one. Because it's brandy-based, it adds such a layer of complexity, of richness to the orange liqueur, and that imparts into whatever cocktail you're making. These are fantastic liqueurs. Number 15, Amaro or Amari. Get yourself an Amaro. Now, this is an entire category onto itself. They're not super interchangeable. Obviously, each one of these is gonna have a very unique flavor, but they're still very similar. They're bittersweet, so they're somewhat interchangeable. If you're gonna get just one, I recommend Amaro Averna. In my opinion, it's probably the most, I don't want to say neutral, but it's the most neutral Amaro that doesn't have a crazy unique flavor. It's very good, and it works in many Amaro cocktails. But I mean, again, if you're getting into Amaro, this is a rabbit hole that, as you can see, and this is not even all of the ones I have, you can go pretty far. Up next, Maraschino liqueur. Now this is this is one of my first liqueurs that I ever got, mainly because I really, really wanted to try the Aviation. It's got a very subtle cherry, nutty sweetness, but it is still quite dry. And yeah, if you're expecting, I remember I was expecting cherry syrup when I first tried this, and whew, it is not, but it is a very lovely liqueur. So if you can find it, get it. If you like tequila, you'll love Mezcal. It's made from agave, so it's very similar to tequila, but it has nice earthiness and nice smokiness. Depending on the bottle, varying degrees of smokiness. This Vita one, very smoky, amazing. Mezcal Mule with this guy, fantastic. Bottle 18, Green Chartreuse. This one's becoming quite hard to find. There are some local substitutes nowadays. I made a video about this just a while ago. Green herbal liqueurs. There's a lot of people making them because scarceness of green chartreuse. So if you can find one or find a substitute, yeah, it's a great bottle to have in your bar. Next on our list is fruit liqueurs. There's like a million to choose from. Strawberry, banana, apricot, peach. I make my own fruit liqueurs. I've got recipes for all of these. Make sure you check out that playlist. Once you start getting into a lot of complicated cocktails, tiki cocktails, big one, you're gonna need some various fruit liqueurs. In the 20 spot, we have spice liqueurs. All right, we have my 2 homemade ones, allspice dram, falernum. These guys are essential if you wanna get into tiki cocktails. After that, we have Benedictine, one of my favorite ones. This is Christmas in a glass, amazing. And Drambuie, you wanna make rusty nails? You gotta have Drambuie. Coffee liqueur. You can definitely start with Kahlua. There's nothing wrong with that. I think pretty much everyone who's at a home bar started with Kahlua, but you're gonna wanna graduate to a fancier coffee liqueur. I make my own coffee liqueur, and that gives you a lot of options for customizing. If you're cool enough to have access to Mr. Black, it's basically the gold standard nowadays, but there are a lot of other options for quality coffee liqueurs. So yeah, enough Kahlua. Pisco, basically unaged grape brandy. We've got the Chilean or the Peruvian Pisco. Pisco sours, fantastic. It's definitely not one that I've experimented with much, but it is a great spirit. Next up, aromatized wine. Lillet Blanc, Coque Americano, and you can probably find a bunch of local ones. These are light, crisp, refreshing, great for spritzes and cocktails like the Corpse Reviver. Finally, more bitters. I would definitely go, once you've got Ango, you're gonna want Peychaud's bitters. After that, you're gonna want some orange bitters, probably some chocolate bitters, and after that, the possibilities are endless. Well, that's it for my list, guys. I could go on forever until I've listed everything on my shelves, but you get the idea. Get those 10 essential bottles, and from there, just start experimenting. At that point, you know what you like, you know what you don't like, and just try out different bottles, all right? If there's anything on my essential list that you would change, let me know in the comments down below. Is there anything that I missed in my long 24 list? Let me know. If you want to learn how to make your own homemade liqueurs, make sure you check out that playlist. Otherwise, we will see you in the next video. Cheers.